Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today you're going to see the most damage that anyone has ever done in the tier 10 Italian heavy tank. It is the Rinoceronte. Today our hero is going to be Chaos, representing the Ideal clan and also sporting the very fetching Myland camo here. So let's see if he can summon up the German gods in this game of World of Tanks. So, the Rinoceronte, the tier 10 Italian auto-reloading heavy tank. And it's a vehicle that, it's alright. It's alright. It's got good gun depression, reasonable turret armor, an okay upper hull, a bit of an issue with the lower plate, but that's the case for most tanks. It has really good penetration on its standard rounds of 268 with APCR, shell velocity of 1,452, good heat pen of 325 on its premium rounds, and also the HE rounds are pretty special on this tank with 127mm of pen. So what holds the tank back? It's definitely not the accuracy on this vehicle as well. The accuracy is 0.33. What really holds us back, however, are a couple of things. Number one, the gun handling. 0.3 when moving and 0.14 when turning the turret. This thing has horrendous gun handling. And secondly, the main thing that holds this vehicle back is the damage per minute. The Rinoceronte is a traditional auto-reloader, unlike some of the fancy ones that you get on the Soviet tanks, which actually reload faster the deeper that you go into the magazine. This vehicle has a horrible damage per minute when it's fully reloaded. When it's fully loaded, it has 1,872 damage per minute with a 15.7 second reload for 490 damage. To put that into perspective, a tank like the WZ-111-5A has the same alpha, but I believe it's firing more like 12 seconds or even a 10-second reload on that tank. And remember, the Rinoceronte can't use a gun rammer, so the disparity in the damage per minute between vehicles gets even more extreme. However, let me just clarify before I finish that train of thought. When you get one of those bits of bad RNG in the Rinoceronte and you miss a shell, oh, it's so painful. Because you're thinking then, what do I do? Reload for another like 15 seconds? Well, the deeper that you go into the magazine, it's 15.7, then it's 17 seconds, then it's 20 seconds. 20 seconds would give you a 3 round a minute. You'd literally be firing 3 rounds a minute with 490 alpha. It's just horrendous. You're going to be having less than 1,500 damage per minute on a tier 10 tank like that. And when you add into the 4-second intra-clip reload, remember that's 4 seconds that you're not getting back if you're firing the vehicle as an autoloader. So for these kind of scenarios, you really have to be sure that the shot is the right one to take. And I think the biggest difference between a good Rinoceronte player and an average or a below average Rinoceronte player will be how the player manages the shells. Now, there are ways with the Rinoceronte where you can just hold onto the shells too much. I'd say I'm someone who always tries to hold onto the shell for maybe a little bit too long to try and maximize the vehicle's damage per minute, to be prepared for either bad RNG or to be prepared for a tank that you didn't expect to come at you that you'll have to engage. And then there's the other end of the scale where I think people just fire a little bit too much. They treat it as if it's a traditional autoloader. They fire all 3 and then wait to reload. We'll have to see in this game how Chaos is going to be able to try and get the balance. And man, look at this opportunistic shot here on that Concept 1B. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And you know, you must feel like you're in control of the situation if you're firing out at a Concept down below while also trying to deal with a 705A who's on top of the hill. So the Batjack gets a shot. Chaos is going to go forwards, manages to avoid taking damage from the heat round of the 705A there, and then is going to put... Ooh, that's not a penetrating shot. Okay, this is a big moment, big moment, big moment. Hit one right there, finishing off the 705A, and luckily no low roll. Otherwise, that would have been an absolute disaster to have to sit there for that 20 seconds. Minus the vents and minus the premium consumable to be able to get that going. One of the things that I love about this game is that Chaos has just decided that he should just go full regular rounds on the Rinoceronte. And unless you're dealing with something like a Mouse or an E100, I think it's a valid option. And also, remember that this vehicle, it's quite awkward when you're trying to juggle between the APCR, the heat, and the HE shells on this tank. And later on in a game, when you start to run low on one type of ammunition, what are you going to do? Just reload a single shot and then be able to go after another type of ammunition? it can get very awkward indeed. And man, when you get a broadside of an E75, this is where this tank is just punishing, right? Look at this. Backwards, forwards, gun broke every single round that is being fired right now at Chaos is gold. Chaos doesn't even have any gold in their tank. Can you believe we're about to see a world record damage game with only standard ammunition? I know. What is this? I don't know why I'm checking whether I'm all right. I mean, I must be dreaming. Maybe I'm not awake, or maybe I'm sick in this kind of situation. So one of the interesting mechanics of the Rinoceronte is that if you fire early, you'll see that you lose all of the progress towards the reload, but it gets compensated. And so that means that Chaos can wait for just that extra second to be able to get that shell in, which saves them the third. And those are the little moments that you have to develop with all of your Italian auto-reloaders, and none the more important with the Rinoceronte. But being in control of that reload, waiting sometimes that extra second for the shell to go in, can make all the difference. And it means that by waiting there for that second, Chaos is going to be fully loaded in 2 seconds, whereas if he had fired just a little bit early, they would still be loading for like another 13 seconds now, and then they might not have had the opportunity to be able to engage what's down below. So this tank, it's actually one of the more complicated to play from micromanaging your reload. But boy, when you get into a scenario where the game is not over in 3 minutes, and you've pretty much only had the chance to go and put in 4, 5, at best 6 shots, this thing, when it controls the scenario, and you have to have a slower game in a Rinoceronte to be able to control the scenario, man, it's probably one of the best heavy tanks. And it's interesting that it still just doesn't seem to get the win ratio that I feel like the vehicle deserves. And I think that's a symptom of the game and not an ailment of the Rinoceronte. I think it's just that the game's getting so fast, with everyone using turbos, everyone using durability devices that mean that you can't track them, which means that everybody can drive around very, very, very aggressively. And when everybody charges around aggressively with no threat against them, then there's no wonder why the game's world tanks are getting faster and faster and faster. Now, I'm going to digress a little bit, but also I think some of the map changes that Wargaming are making to Airfield will also possibly speed up that map a little bit. But Airfield's in a pretty shocking state right now, so I don't know. What's more broken, having the current airfield or just having an airfield that maybe will result in more snowballs on the test server? But we don't have time to focus on that. What we have time to focus on, however, is how Chaos is going to be able to get through this game. They fired 16 of the... well, no, actually, sorry, this thing's got 33 rounds of ammunition, so they fired 19 of the 33 rounds the Rinoceronte has, but Chaos still has a lot of work to do on the enemy team. And man, you know when you're on 7,700 damage and there's still 7 minutes left on the battle and the enemies have got 12,000 hit points, you know you're in for something magical. So Chaos is getting spotted. He hasn't quite figured out where it's going to be. So Chaos is going to fall back, and I think this is the right play to try and control and try and find an angle. Honestly, in this situation, unless you're sure that somebody's going to bomb in along the A line down towards the enemy base, it's far better to come back and to control and then try to make sure you've dug out all of the different lines of fire that your opponents will have before managing to push on. So Type 61 and Chaos' team is on half hit points, and they're in a precarious situation. I actually can't believe they've managed to get into the woods unspotted. It's usually there'll be tanks that will be having some good vision there. Whoa, that was a clutch shot right into the back of the Batchat. Almost looked like it was a bit of a reverse ghost shell there, but I wouldn't be complaining about laggy hitboxes in such a close game. So unfortunately for Chaos, the Jagdtiger finishes off the 705A, and that's quite a hit point swing for the enemy team now up nearly 4,000 hit points, with the FE4005 seemingly getting one shot by the equal barn on the enemy team. Now up to 8,000 damage and fully loaded, Chaos is going to come around the corner against a Batchat who seems to be about the 2-shot, and luckily the Batchat is trying to shoot the Conqueror, which allows Chaos to get one shot in, and luckily they don't even have to fire the extra shell against the 19 hit point Batchat as the T95 finishes them off. So now Chaos up 8,700 and just gets the dream. Just as they're fully loaded, there's a TVP there. One into the side of the TVP. Will they hit the second one? Steady hands. Manages to get another shot in. And now up to 9,700 damage. But the enemies still seemingly with 9,000 hit points, unless there's been some blind fires or the Jagdtiger has lost a lot of HP in their duel with the TVP. Okay, 10 rounds of the 33 standard ammunition that Chaos had at the start of the battle still remain inside their vehicle. There's a Type 61 who's very much less healthy on that northern flank. They're probably not going to venture any more in towards the woods because of it. And there's a 121B who seems to also be extending some vision. And it's about thinking now, is Chaos like praying to the gods right now? We're thinking about what they're going to do in this situation? Possibly. Are they going to really blind fire here with only 10 rounds of ammunition left? We'll have to find out. Are they going to blind fire here with only 10 rounds of ammunition left? And I think I might have just noticed something that Chaos did there that I've never seen anyone do. Did he mark behind the rock and then try to feather out to see whether they could see the distance, to see where the edge of the rock? If they did, that's actually fantastic. And that's something that I just learned today from Chaos, so I appreciate that one, my dude. If that is the case, that's actually very useful. Usually, it would be faster. The way that most people do it at the moment is they'll kind of like zoom in, go behind a rock, and then they'll zoom out and see if their reticle is bypassing behind it. But you know what? Mousing over might be actually faster. It would be annoying for your team. But then again, do you really need to worry about whether you're being annoying when you're up to nearly 10,000 damage in this kind of a situation? I wonder if that's even going to work, whether you can mouse your own reticle behind a rock. I might be speaking out of my backside completely. I have to try it out today on stream. All right, so Chaos actually does manage to fire 2 blind shells against their opponents. So there's a little bit of mystery damage that we're going to have to see whether Chaos has done by the end of the game. But now with only 3 minutes left on the game, it's a case of the team trying to convince each other to push. I'm not sure it should be the 27 hit point Type 61. But we can see that the 121B is pitching their idea for the T95 to push. Oh, lovely shot right into the side. Over 10,000 damage now. Will they wait for a clean shot? Yes, they will. Beautiful. Doesn't wait for the reload. Now has compensation on this shot. Whoa, if that one had missed, this game could have been very different, boys and girls, with that 20-second reload. But Chaos secures it. Catches now just shy of 11,000 damage. And there's still 5,800 hit points on the enemy team. With the FV405 falling to the T95, we just don't know how healthy that Jagdtiger and don't know how healthy that Panzer 7 is. So, Chaos, luckily, once again, has a long amount of downtime to mitigate that horrible reload with the Rinoceronte. And the Panzer 7 gets caught out just behind the building for a little bit there. Chaos. Oh, no! Disaster doesn't manage to hit the shell. Now, are they going to wait? They blind fire, and it looks like it went in as the Panzer 7 now down to 400 hit points. So that is at least 500 damage, nearly, that Chaos will be on. But oh my word, this has to be the most painful reload in World of Tanks history right now. And with only 3 shells left in the vehicle, which one is Chaos going to go for? Is he going to go for the Panzer 7? Is he going to go for the concept? They're going to make a big bold play to see if they can be able to get some more out of this game. They're going to fire early, and luckily just before the T95 club's in the shell. So that will be, ladies and gents, we're going to have to see how much damage it was against the Panzer 7, but that is over 12,000. Chaos says, please let me kill. We've only got 2 shells left, mate, so you better pen it. And unfortunately, that's where the APCR rounds they just can't compete with the high explosive anti-tank rounds that you would have on the Rinoceronte. And while Chaos has decided to use only standard rounds in this tank, I think still taking like a couple, maybe 3, maybe 5 heat rounds might have allowed them to deal with some of the situations against the 705A and the Panzer 7. And with the Rinoceronte, you know, you're either reloading for 15.7 seconds when you're fully loaded or 20 seconds. So if you can be sure that you only need 1 heat round to make the difference to go in, then, you know, the heat round's still workable within this tank. But ladies and gents, boys and girls, what an absolute dominant performance here for the Rinoceronte. Chaos was all over the map. Literally all over the map, up on the hill, winning the hill, engaging down the hill while also holding the hill, wins the hill, back, tries to make an attack, falls back, deals with the sneaky bat chat, and then gets himself into an overwatch situation to allow their team to just choke out a very tough camp to break. Just a masterful game for the Rinoceronte, and it would be, considering this was the highest damage I have managed to find anyone has been able to do in the Italian auto-reloading heavy. And it was 12,021 damage, in addition to the 5 kills that Chaos managed to pick up, getting the mother of all high caliber medals and also a tank sniper for the Rinoceronte. And look, guys and girls, when you don't fire gold in a game like this, 81,000 credits profit at tier 10. And a lot of the people who only load gold in the game are probably kind of like scratching their head a little bit here that Chaos was able to do more damage than anyone's ever done in the Rinoceronte without firing a single gold round. However, I must add the caveat that I think that still taking a few heat rounds for situations where either you need to go through a plate that you can't quite overmatch, but it's still very thin, angled up to 85 degrees, or alternatively just going through like a thick plate, like on a Panzer 7, you should take a few of them. And don't try and get into the mindset of gold rounds or premium rounds are just stupid to take in any situation, because there's only one thing worse than just spamming gold, and that is not taking any and then crying and blaming the scenario for not having had the right tool for the job. As by penning a few gold rounds sparingly when you need them, you can survive those kind of situations to then fire more standard rounds to make more profit later on in the game. And if you've survived, probably get a few more wins. Anyway, Chaos, congratulations to you on this monster game of Control in the Rinoceronte. It was absolutely phenomenal. And thank you so much for uploading it on the QuickyBaby.what-record website for the community to enjoy. I thoroughly did, which is why I wanted to feature this monster game on YouTube today, and I really hope all of you out there enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below, how many gold rounds is the right amount to take on a tank? And are there any vehicles that you just absolutely, utterly have to go full gold on? And I better not be reading FE405 in the comments down below. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Monday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with new drops tokens. But the timing has changed for the rest of this event, and I guess for the rest of probably most new events, they're going to be starting at 3 o'clock UTC, and now the UK and Europe has gone 1 hour ahead. It's going to be starting at 4 o'clock like it was. Bit confusing, but if you're in a country in the world where your clocks haven't changed, then it's going to be an hour earlier. Anyway, really looking forward to seeing you all live right now, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.